Hello, everyone, and welcome to CodeCast by STL Tech Talk. We are going to bring you the content you want and need: instructional, informative, unique, and insightful commentary for the love of all this. Pete, I've been talking all day, and I can't talk right now. Programming and technology. My name is JJ Ham, and I am joined by a good friend of mine. He's been, always there for me, and I always appreciated that about him. The guy knows Xcode, C#, Xamarin, and the list goes on and on and on. If you could dip him in chocolate and sell him around the world, and he would sell out. The one, the only, Alejandro Ramirez. Hello, brother man, and how are you doing this evening?
I'm super excited to be here, JJ. I'm not as uniqueful as you are, but I am trying my best, and I'm always pleased to be here.
Yeah, like I said, I know our audience really likes you a lot. You bring a crowd, that's for sure. So we appreciate people letting other people know about the show. We are going to go back on a regular cadence. We do have our very own Gus Emery, who is doing and fighting the good fight. He's programming right now, and he just couldn't tear away from the job to make it on the show tonight. But we couldn't do it without him, so we really appreciate it. Next week is going to be an entity framework session, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But I am ready to have a lot of a great conversation with you, Alejandro. But before we do that, I wanted to thank all the supporters of CodeCast by STL Tech Talk. You can find us on Twitter by using the hashtag CodeCast, or at CodecastSTL for our Twitter handle. If you have any feedback, or if you want to have any conversation, go ahead and send contact to contact@stltechtalk.com. I want to take a moment to thank the sponsors of our show, Inertia Software, creating cutting-edge, highly scalable Microsoft technological solutions to the energy industry. Visit inertia-software.com for more information. And we're going to have some more coming from them next week as well. And Tech Systems. You don't want to put your resume to 100 of online job boards, and you want to advance your IT career. Just to find your next job, your solution is simple. Tech Systems. It is the leading IT staffing provider in the U.S. and is ready to be your career partner. Their goal is to help you achieve your personal and professional goals. Contact a local recruiter today at techsystems.com/St. Louis. And that's TEKSYSTEMS.com/STLOUIS. Again, that's techsystems.com/St. Louis. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick off the show to Alejandro. Alejandro, tell us what we are going to be doing this evening, and how have you been, and what's going on in the world of development, and just go.
So I think wearables are in everybody's minds these days. There's a lot going on in the world of wearables. I think last year we saw great things happening. We had a lot of Google Glass. We had a lot of announcements. We have the Apple Watch obviously coming up very soon, and that is going to be the main topic today. But in general, I recently was writing a blog post about mobility and beyond, because mobility has really taken us all, not by surprise, but has really taken over everything. If you think about it, we just don't talk about mobility. We already take it for granted. Whether you like it or not, it's already there. We have not just mobile devices like notebooks and laptops, but we also have, we started with like the Fitbits and those sports trackers, and now we're moving on into more personal experiences. So, I'm an early adopter. I have a Pebble Watch. I have a Fitbit band. And those have originally, there you go, the Microsoft band. Those originally provided you back in the day somewhat limited features, but they were great because you could track your steps, your activity, and whatnot. But now we're looking at that next generation, those devices that have smarter sensors and that can track a lot more than just your pedometer step tracker. And so the Apple Watch is not the first of its kind. Obviously, the Pebble Watch has the official title of being the first smartwatch. But as you know, Apple is a mover and shaker. So when they come out with something, everybody's paying attention. So I have a presentation that I'm going to share with you guys tonight that I gave just recently at a local meetup group. It's about the Apple Watch. First, I'm going to talk about the features of the Apple Watch from a user standpoint, and then I'm going to talk about how to develop Apple Watch apps using WatchKit. And we're going to try to cover both Xamarin and Xcode. So for those of you who are on the C# side of the house, there is Xamarin Studio, and for those of you who are Objective-C or Swift fans, not Taylor Swift, we have the Xcode, the Apple developer tools. So let me switch to my presentation now.
Now, while you're doing that, I want to let everybody know that we went recently to a different site design, and one of the tabs at the top of the screen, or one of the hamburger menu options, is if you click on CodeCast Live, it's a tab, it'll bring you to the live page, and we almost always try and shoot for a 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Time for the show. So if you want to watch it live, you can do it there. Also, visit codecaststl.com for all of our past shows, and look for us in the podcast aggregator if you want to listen to us. And if you can't, always watch the show, go ahead and download it, listen to it. I think you'd still get a lot out of it. So Alejandro, take it away, sir.
All right, so you won't see me while I'm talking, but hopefully you can look at this screen. So, all right, the first things we're going to talk about, and don't mind, I think I didn't get a chance to edit out the presentation, so I apologize, but let me just skip to where we care. So, like I said, we're going to quickly talk about the features of the Apple Watch, and then we're going to look at a dev walkthrough. What do you need to develop Apple Watch apps? And so, first of all, the official name is not Apple APPLE Watch. It's actually the Apple logo and then the word watch, which is a new trend. I guess I equate this to what Prince did with his name, when he started being the symbol. So I guess this is the formerly known Apple, now it's the symbol watch. But anywho, a couple of things to know about the Apple Watch is that it is rumored to come early 2015, as early as March, although the official notice says that it's April. Apple just announced a media event for March where it's called Spring Forward or something like that, and they are expected to announce the specific date. We know that some development shops have had a heads up, so they're already preparing apps. So that is why we suspect an earlier launch than April. But right now, as far as we know, April is still the official month for the Apple Watch launch. It comes with 2 types of glass. As you will see, there are 3 kinds of Apple Watches, and 2 of them have sapphire glass and 1 has Ion X glass. That's more for the sport edition. They are all Retina display. It also comes with a custom sensor called Taptic for what everybody knows as haptic feedback. Basically, is the vibration that you feel on your wrist. It also has a custom heart rate sensor. It does not have Wi-Fi or GPS, but it rather uses the Wi-Fi and GPS of your iPhone. Yes, you do need an iPhone to tether your watch with, and it will connect via Bluetooth. It does have an accelerometer, and it is a rechargeable device, so it does not have batteries, but you will have to plug it just like you do your Microsoft Band or your Pebble Watch. It comes in 2 sizes, and this is measured by its height. There is the 38 millimeter and the 42 millimeter. These are the 3 editions, if you want, or the 3 symbols, like I put in the title. There's the
That's
Apple
right.
Watch.
I did not know that. Like, if you wouldn't have said that, I honestly wouldn't have known that. I mean, I try to, I do this all the time. So it's crazy that it's just Apple, formerly known as Apple, is now a symbol.
It's now just a symbol, and maybe it is because it's a symbol of luxury or something like that. But who knows?
Right. Like that Porsche emblem.
Yeah, there you go. So here's the 3 Apple Watches that you expect to see at lunchtime. There is the Apple Watch, which, like I said, has sapphire glass, and it is stainless steel. Then there is the Apple Watch Sport, which has the Ion-X glass, and it has a band that is made of the same material that you find on the covers of your iPad or iPhones that you find in the Apple stores. And then there is the luxury Apple Watch Edition. Don't mix it up. It's Apple Watch and Apple Watch Edition. So this is the expensive one, 18 karat gold cases in different colors. So you will have your choice whether you go for any of these three models. You can pick between stainless steel on 2 different colors. You can also go with silver aluminum or space gray aluminum, or you can go for the 18 karat yellow gold or for an 18 karat rose gold. So obviously quite a bit to choose from. I believe I heard that you have a total of 34 combinations to pick from when you buy your watch. So between the 3 kinds and the bands and the links and buckles and loops, like you can see in this picture, you can really customize it and really have a unique watch for yourself. And of course there is the 2 sizes, so for those of you who have smaller or bigger wrists, you can also make it feel comfortable. So let's talk about now what it can or can't do. So obviously, being a watch, Apple spent a lot of time making it do a lot with just the watch functionality. For us as developers, this is very important to know because you need to know what it already does out of the box. When I saw this, I think it killed like 7 or 8 ideas that I already have. So it is very important that you understand what it does out of the box.
Right.
So the most important thing is the watch face, of course. The watch face can be customized. It can have different looks. You can choose a face. You can choose colors. You can add or remove details of time and activities. And so out of the box, you can pick one of these faces on your watch, and they vary by model between the Sport, the Watch, and the Watch Edition.
Really?
And depending which ones you choose, you can, like for example, here we have a chronograph, we have a color watch face. If you think of the Pebble watch, one of the biggest features was that you could download all of these watch faces. You will also be able to download more watch faces, but you already come with a bunch of pre-bundled ones. And another, I think, killer feature is that you can also customize how much you want to see on the user interface. So for example, this is what Apple calls complications, and that's really a watch term. They're really using the proper terminology. Remember that Apple has industrial designers, and what's the name of the main designer in Apple? Remind me. Oh gosh, his name escapes my mind right now.
Johnny Ive?
Johnny Ive, thank you. He's an industrial designer, so they really go at the roots of calling things what they are. So the name complications, although it sounds complicated, is really a term for specialized functions. So in this case, this is the utility watch face, and you can add or remove anything from alarms to moon phases to timers to calendars, stocks, weather, activities, stopwatch, work clock, and sunrise and sunset times. You can also pick what color. So like I said, if you compare this to like the Pebble watch when it first launched, these were things that you had to go and search for in the store to, oh, I want a watch face that has the weather and the time. So now you can just build that with your watch. So I can see that on launch day, people are going to spend hours just customizing what they want their watch to look like, and it's going to be a really cool experience. Here's an example of the stopwatch.
Oh, nice.
There's a digital, analog, and a hybrid view. So you can just use this out of the box. It comes with your watch.
And it doesn't, not to interrupt, but it doesn't look wonky. It doesn't. There's no, and I guess this is just because it's an Apple thing, but it's not bleeding off the screen. They make full use of what you're looking at.
Yes,
and it makes sense. And some of Android Wear, for example, has some of that problem, right? Where it's not exactly, um, it doesn't exactly fit the way you think it should, you know?
Well, the other thing is when you open the market to developers to put out watch faces,
Mm-hmm.
some will have better taste on design, some might not. And so it's nice that there's a lot that comes right out of the box with the designers behind this creating it, because
Right.
for one, it's inspiration to build other apps that look nice, that follow
Right.
some of these design patterns. And two, well, now you just have something that looks nice and you can show off your watch right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I want to point out that there is this little crown here. That's the digital crown. I don't know if you can actually see that. To
Oh
the
yeah.
right of the
Yeah.
watch, there's that little.
It's a gorgeous screen share you got going on. I mean, you can see all the little ridges or ripples or whatever that you want to call that, grooves in the crown.
Yeah, that was the intention. So that digital crown is what allows you to navigate, whether it's scrolling or zooming in or paging horizontally. As we get into more details, it'll probably make more sense. And you have a button also to the right. But everything else, really, this is a touchscreen watch, which you don't get with like the Pebble watch or some other
Mm-hmm.
watches. But this one is definitely touchscreen, which allows you to do interesting things like sketching funky images and sending it to somebody else that you choose to share with. You can also send a heartbeat, which I think is more of a, I don't know, it's kind of neat. It
Right.
could be more for the, love bugs in the world, but
The Tinder crowd.
there you go. Now, following with the out-of-the-box features, so you can receive notifications for messages like text messages or iMessages. You
Mm-hmm.
can receive notifications for emails. One thing I didn't know until I researched to put this presentation together is that it has built-in speakers and a microphone, so you can actually take calls from your watch without having to pull out your phone,
Wow. Yeah.
which I think is pretty cool. Next thing that also allows you to do is to send animated emoji. You can use your voice to activate Siri and record audio messages, dictate a text message, and so forth. You can share your location with someone. I just want to point out that the map is not a fully interactive map. You can zoom in and out, but if you want to get more functionality, it will open potentially the map app on your iPhone. But it does not have a full-blown map on your watch. Another big piece is the activity app. The activity app, which also comes with your phone, is going to track things like how much you move, how much you're in motion, exercises, and also how much time you actually spend standing. And it's going to keep track of all of that. You can also set goals, like I want to burn so many calories, or I want to spend, I don't know, so much time exercising, or walk any amount of steps, and so forth. So built right into the watch, this like I said, kind of kills a whole bunch of ideas that people may have had, because it's already a full-blown activity tracker with really basic, at some degree, tracking information, obviously connecting to HealthKit, but as a starting point with your watch, if you go for like the sports edition, I think you're gonna get a lot out of the box. But I'm very, very eager to hear about what other developers are putting together. So here's just another view of what this tracking mechanism would look like of the app interface versus the phone interface. And obviously with the iPhone, you can tap onto the full processing power of the iPhone and do a lot more. So switching over to dev time, and I'm going to switch back here just for a second, just to
I
emphasize
was
the
going to say that
relationship.
looks nice. I mean, that looks really neat.
It does indeed.
Now, what I'm looking at is for those audio listeners, I'm looking at a calendar, and a lot of you know what I'm talking about when I say a dark theme on like a Windows phone, for example. But the calendar it's dark, so it's got a black background, and then it's got dials that show how much out of your goal, for example, you achieved on that day. So there's different color coding and different sorts of things I would imagine for maybe steps or calories, that sort of thing. So it's very, very neat.
Yeah, and unfortunately, these images are all static, but it's all animated. So those circles or those circling lines, they actually, as you're progressing throughout the day, they draw out and they can interact and whatnot. So it's like everything, they're all always transitioned or animated transitions. So it's a very joyful interface to observe.
That's cool. Yeah.
I wanted to leave this slide here because I wanted to emphasize again that at this point there are no standalone Apple Watch apps. You must have an iPhone app that is going to have the components of the Apple Watch. So you first will install the app on your iPhone, and that will extend to the Apple Watch. I think a very good way that many people are talking about this, think about the Apple Watch as a second display or as an external display of your iPhone.
Okay.
So you can actually have it do custom things that you probably don't do on your iPhone, but it's kind of like having a little extra display that is connected. The phone will continue to work even if you are on airplane mode or whatnot. But for anything that the Apple Watch requires your iPhone to do, like going and fetching RSS feeds or information from a web service or whatnot, then you're going to have your iPhone ready to connect. It doesn't open the app. There is a lot of background processing that it does, but it's going to be something that if you need to think about how you're going to go about developing this, you are going to have a tool, which is what I'm going to describe. So let's talk about the development process. So what do you need as a developer to develop Watch or Apple Watch apps? We're going to talk about an overview of the WatchKit app development workflow. And hopefully we'll have time for a quick demo. So, JJ, you just tell me if I'm running off the hook on time, but I think we're good so far, right? I couldn't hear you. You're on mute, but I got the nodding for yes. So I'll just continue.
My bad. Sorry. When we do this show, it's always interesting to me the different ways I can fail. So go ahead.
No, nothing
That's
like
great.
that.
No, we're doing great on time. Great.
All right, so what do you need to develop apps for the watch? Obviously, the watch is not out yet, but you can get a free copy of Xcode 6.2 Beta 5. It has to be the Beta 5. There is a couple of other betas. This one comes with iOS 8.2 with WatchKit. There is an iOS 8.3 that has other bells and whistles, but this is the one that everybody's using. There is a lot of other technical reasons, but just stick with this one. Tinker elsewhere at your own risk. You also need to create an iPhone app project. The simulator will not let you run if you pick an iPad. So right now it has to be an iPhone app. You can do a universal app which has an iPhone piece, but as far as I know, you cannot use the iPad.
Okay.
Once you create your iPhone app, or if you already have an iPhone app, you can just add a WatchKit app to your project. If anybody has developed Today extensions, when you see when you swipe down the tray from the top, this is similar to the Windows Phone and Android, but instead of just a tray of notifications, there's a new Today extension that came out, I believe, as of iOS 7, that has just kind of a summary of interesting bits, but it's fully interactive. So if you're following stocks, you can see that screen and so forth. So if you've done anything like that or have seen it, the WatchKit is going to behave somewhat similar. And when we get to specific examples, you'll see why. Now, if you're using Xcode on Mac, you can choose between Objective-C or Swift. So good news, if you don't know Swift yet, you don't have to use Swift. You can still use Objective-C. I personally recommend that you start looking into Swift. If your iPhone app is already written in Objective-C, you can write your watch app in Swift, so it lets you combine. But seriously, if you haven't gone to Swift, I think it's about time you get started, because it's almost been a year since it came out. So not late to get started. You can get all of this from developer.apple.com/watchkit. There's the links to the software. For downloading all of this, this is now public beta, so you don't have to be a paid developer, and because there is no Apple Watch, you don't have to have a device to run this, so you can use the simulator and hopefully things will work, right? We can only hope.
Right.
Other important pieces on that link is not only the software, but also the programming guide, which thankfully is not awfully long, and it's a good read. Because the Apple Watch is new, there is not a lot of info, so become an expert right now, and as they add more stuff, well, just read more. But and of course, last but not least, the graphic user interface guidelines, which Apple refers to as human user interface design principles or design guidelines. That's just their guidelines for saying, here's what an Apple Watch app is supposed to look like. How do you design navigation and whatnot? So
makes sense.
If you are a Xamarin developer, you will also need to download Xcode 6.2 beta, and for both macOS users of Xcode and Xamarin users, the Xcode betas can live at or can exist at the same time that your current Xcode 6.1. So it will not override your other Xcode. So if you have other projects that you don't want to mix up with the beta, this copy of Xcode is called Xcode-beta. So you have two apps with different names living in the same environment. So no risk there, no problem. Xamarin, as you will know, if you're not new to Xamarin, you have to have Xcode, which is the SDK of WatchKit, because it has all of the bits you need to launch the Xamarin Studio app, which is the equivalent of Xcode or Visual Studio. And speaking of Visual Studio, right now there is no support for Xamarin WatchKit development for those of you who are using the Xamarin Visual Studio plugin. So you must use Xamarin Preview, which is only going to work with the standalone version of the app. And
gotcha.
What you get with this preview, you get 2 packages, and this will actually override your current Xamarin Studio. So maybe make a copy of the other one if you're not sure, or perhaps use a different Mac if you have that available. But again, the download here is developer.xamarin.com/guides/iOS/watch/installation, which is too long. So just look for Xamarin WatchKit, and that's one word, WatchKit, and then you will get all of the bits.
Nice.
You can also get a free trial of Xamarin, so you don't have to pay if you're just learning. Eventually, they ask you to pay after you expire your trial. So let's fast forward to the technical overview. And like I said, iOS app extensions and WatchKit are similar in that if you look at this diagram, you're going to install 2 bundles. You can think of them as 2 separate mini projects. One is the actual WatchKit app, which runs on the watch, and that's at the left, at the top, at the leftmost of this diagram.
Mm-hmm.
It only has storyboards and resources. It does not have any code. So the WatchKit, like I said, is just like a second screen. All of the code is going to be in the second bundle, which is the WatchKit extension, and that runs on your iPhone. So whenever the WatchKit app needs something needs to do something in code, the WatchKit is going to have the controller, the view controller. If you're an MVC guy, if you need to render the screen, well, the view controller is going to generate the call that is going to populate the data, and it's going to wake up the watch app to show something to the user. So what does the iOS app do? Well, that's the main container, and that allows you to have a bridge between the iOS app and the WatchKit extension. So I think a more simplified view, which I stole from Ray Wenderlich, a guy who has great tutorials on everything iOS.
If you wouldn't have said that, I would have been like, dude, you totally made that, because it totally looks like something you would do.
No. This is not mine, and all of the images you've seen before I also credit for Apple. They're not my images, but
right.
So here's a simplified view. Here's your watch, and all the watch has is views and static images. And whenever you interact with your phone, it will talk to the extension, which is stored in the iPhone, and that's going to go back and update the view. And like I said, there are things that are a bit more static that don't necessarily require the full-blown power of the iOS app. But if you need your iPhone to do things for you, then you can tell, hey, iPhone, go do this other stuff for me, and then you can have your iPhone doing things in the background for you, because the Apple Watch doesn't have the ability to run anything in the background. So.
Oh, okay.
Now let's talk about what interactions you can do, so that we know what we can code against. So at the left top, we have what's called the home screen. And this screenshot has a whole bunch of apps installed. You can see there's iTunes and iCloud and the Activity app and Photos and blah, blah, blah. Right. So all you have to do is tap on one of those, or use the digital crown to kind of navigate, zoom in, zoom out. Pick one, tap on it, and then you go to one of the three possible interactions. And I have those numbers 1, 2, 3. So first one is your app's main interface. In this case, I believe that's the Pinterest app.
Looks like it, yeah.
Which I found showcased somewhere just by Googling watch apps. And so this is the main interface. This is just like an iOS app. This is where you will navigate through menus and pages. There are two other possible interactions that are separate from the main app. The second one is called glances. Glances are read-only interfaces, and that's equivalent to, I guess, when you have a quick status. So you can swipe right to left on your phone, on your Apple Watch, and you will have glances of different apps that are running in the background. Well, I guess I said it doesn't do background, but you know what I mean. The apps that you have installed can have glances. If you have a glance, it will show you up-to-date information. This view is read-only, so if you tap on it, it will open your main app.
Gotcha.
So in this case, we're looking at the weather. If you decide to enable the glance of the weather, then you can look at the weather really quickly. Number 3 is notifications, which are similar to what you're used to in iOS. Notifications have two views, and this is really interesting. The first view, which is called the short look, is when you have your hand, I guess, in rest position, and you kind of glance over to see it, or look over and you see it. But the moment you hold your wrist up, it switches to the long look.
Right.
So the short look only has the big icon of your app, the name of your app, and then a short one-line display notification of what this is. It could be, as you remember from earlier, an SMS message or an email. Well, in this case, it's a calendar notification. And when you go to the long look, this is actually scrollable. You can scroll up and down. You can have up to 4 buttons that you can code against. And this is what they call depth, or it has deep linking, excuse me. So tapping on any of those actionable buttons will take you to a specific spot in your app. So in this case, for this example, you could accept an invite, or say maybe, or decline. The dismiss button at the bottom, you always get a dismiss of a notification, but on top of that, you can add your own extra 4 actionable buttons.
Okay.
And those can take you to very specific sections of your app. The life cycle, if you're a veteran iOS developer, or even if you just started, you're used to things like view did load and view will appear. For those of you from the Windows world, you're probably know events like did finish with launch options and so forth, like in the Windows Store apps. But this is just the life cycle. So when you launch the app, the storyboard is inflated into the watch, and then it loads in its initial interface controller, which is in the extension, and that's what could populate the UI labels and buttons with custom data. And then once this is all loaded, the UI is initialized and the init event is triggered. And you're probably used to view will appear. Well, then you have something new in Apple Watch called will activate. And this is when the UI is about to be displayed. There's also an event before then called awake with context, which I guess is the equivalent of view will appear and view did load. So there are situations in which you want to do things in one place versus another, and I'll get to that in a moment. But here's another view. So the display of the UI triggers will activate. When the user interacts with your UI, you call action methods. When the user stops interacting, it calls a did deactivate. And this is very important because the moment the user stops interacting, it unloads your app from the watch. So if you need to save state or do anything like that, this is where you want to do that because it suspends execution. So here's a quick cheat sheet. So during the init event, that's the first chance in preparation for loading the interface. Probably not the best place to go and do heavy stuff. Awake with context. This is where you can prepare navigation, like maybe load a bunch of pages that are going to show if you're preparing dynamic content. Will activate is where you will probably want to call a heavy data or web service call, obviously not done by the watch, but called to the server. You will get a little spinning icon or spinning wheel, which in Apple Watch is a little bit different than what you're used to. And then, of course, like we said, in did deactivate is when you want to do some cleanup. To run, like I said, because we don't have Apple Watches available yet, when you run the iOS simulator, which is used in both Xamarin and Xcode, well, first of all, it's not shown here, but you have to make sure you pick a device like the iPhone 5C, the 5S, or the 6. It will not work with any other devices, so you pick one of those first, and then you're going to have this external displays enabled, and that's how you can choose between the 38 millimeters or the 42 millimeter watch. And this is what it's going to look like in the simulator. To your right, you have the iPhone simulated UI and the Apple Watch simulated UI. Here's something a little bit more technical. Sharing data between the iOS and the WatchKit app is not that straightforward as you may expect. They actually run in two separate sandbox environments, so there is no out-of-the-box file sharing or communication. You actually have to enable this, and the way to do it, similarly to when you go and say, I want this app to support Game Center or Passbook or Apple Pay, you enable something called app groups. And that, as you can see in this screen, is under the WatchKit extension. So you're going to say that this is going to support app groups, which allowed you to share files by reading and write them into a shared container. And if you instead want to share preferences like NS user defaults, then you can use just that regular method. The only difference is that when you initialize NS user defaults, you have to use a special method called init with suit name, so that you know that this is the shared NS user defaults as opposed to the ones that are only for your iOS app. You can find more online about that. I can not go into more details because of time, but another quick observation here, again, with communicating between your Watch app and your iOS app. So you can use a method called open parent application, which responds with a reply. And you can send a request to your iOS app, and it will send you a reply back. To respond or to listen to that, you're going to have a delegate method called application handle WatchKit extension request, which is the event where you will want to write in your iOS app the response to that request from the Apple Watch. So let's say, for example, you want to fetch the user current location. You can call the parent application and say, hey, send me user's location. And then your event of, oh, Apple WatchKit, send me a request. I go fetch the data, and then I send you a reply. Pretty common delegate method programming that you guys should be used to if you're doing iOS apps of any kind. So
now what is some of the limitations on the caching of that? I mean, your extension. I mean, have you played around with that? Just how much data can be thrown back and forth through those extensions at one time?
I've actually played quite a bit with that over the past week and a half. I'm working on an app with a good friend of mine, and you know, it's just like everything. If you have the right combination of a fast web service that can return data back to you in a very lightweight format like JSON or whatnot, if you also choose a good user interface experience, maybe a table view that table views in iOS and WatchKit are optimized so that you only are spending the resources when you with the table portion that is visible to the user. When you start scrolling, it starts kind of caching and fetching. So there are ways to control this to say don't try to display 100 rows at a time. Kind of maybe give me chunks of 10 and then do a pull again.
Okay.
So there are methods to handle that, and it's really again based on how much load of data you want to do. But in my case, I was pulling 5 different pages loaded dynamically, and response times in the simulator are very misleading. The simulator is always going to be slow, so
Sure.
don't get too hung up on that.
Right.
Another thing worth mentioning is the navigation styles. Speaking of what we were just saying, there's 2 primary navigation styles. There is the page-based navigation, which you can probably think about the Windows phone, how you swipe right and left, and you have your hubs of data. Well, in iOS, if you think of your home screen in iOS or Android, and you have those dots at the bottom that tell you, oh, you're on the home screen, or you're 2 screens to the right, or 1 screen to the left. This is page-based navigation. You have basically for WatchKit, there are pages that are supposed to be not very related to each other. It's meant to be something that you can look at different views of data, and you can use the swipe gesture to go right or left. And you will have these dots at the bottom that indicate the position where you are. If it's 3 pages, you're going to be on the 3rd dot, and so forth. The other navigation style is hierarchical, and this is your traditional drill down, where you can go from one view to a detailed view and show more details of something. So if you're on a table view looking at a list of appointments, you can tap on an appointment and it shows you the appointment, and then from there you can go to an actionable page where you could forward, reply, dismiss, and so forth.
Gotcha.
They also use different root element. That's the WK interface controller for all of the navigation elements, and you still have segues. Segues are the connection between 2 pages. You can still control drag to create a segue, but there is a new segue called page-based, I guess, connectivity or page-based segue. And instead of pushing something into the stack of a hierarchical view, a page segue will just push it to the next page of a page-based navigation. That's kind of one way to put it.
Yeah.
If we can get to a super quick demo, I might be able to show you just really quickly what that looks like. And I think I have the perfect thing to show you in lieu of actually writing an app. There's also model views. A model view is just a kind of like a pop-up, and those can be either page-based or hierarchical. That's all I can tell you for now, but that's quite a lot. So
yeah.
instead of doing a quick demo, I'm going to open an app that Xamarin has made available that allows us to see the different graphical elements of Watch apps. But let me see. Okay, well, we'll get to that. That's my joking Apple Watch wannabe. That's my Pebble Watch with an iOS. I'm sorry, with an Apple Watch face. So, all right, let me fire up Xamarin Studio, and this is the preview.
Okay, while that's happening, I would like for everyone to know some charities. Hope Line, a domestic violence prevention and support organization. Also, that's presented by Verizon, the supporters of STL Tech Talk. We really appreciate that. Hope for Young Adults with Cancer. Obviously, that's a big deal. Healthy Me. It's go to healthymehub.com for more information. Helps if you're a caregiver and things of that nature. And back to you.
Thanks, JJ. All right, so I just fired up Xamarin Studio. This is, again, the preview version of Xamarin Studio that includes WatchKit support. I'm running it on my Mac. The version is 5.8, build 408. All you really need to do is just go look for it. And it's already configured to run. This is a sample application. Just really quickly, what I can show you here is this is the structure of my project. You can see there's three components. There is the Watch app that has the storyboard. And this is going to take a while because they actually loaded it with a whole bunch of really cool stuff. But while it does load, I want you to look on the left too. There is also the iOS part, which is called WatchKit Catalog. And then underneath that, there is a WatchKit extension, which in this case is bold because this is the startup project. So when we launch this, we look at when we launch this project, it will load the Watch app on your simulator. So here's a super quick view of what the design mode looks like on Xamarin Studio. This is a really exciting version of Xamarin Studio because it also includes a full-blown iOS designer. So you no longer have to jump back and forth between the interface builder. You can still do that if you want to for certain things, but now you can do a lot more within Xamarin Studio without having to go to Xcode. And as you can see here, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. One thing I want to point out really quickly is when you drag UI elements to the WatchKit controller interface, they're going to by default stack vertically, so they're gonna just stack on top of each other.
Oh,
for fun, I'm gonna drag another button here, and you're gonna see that it's just going to automatically go under that one. And if I drag one more, it's gonna do the same thing. This is slightly different from what you're accustomed to in iOS apps. In iOS apps, you have auto layout. Auto layout has been completely redone for WatchKit. I think there are things I see in WatchKit app development that I would love to see for regular iOS apps, because we have, you know, all of the size. We have like 5 different sizes that we need to cater to: the 4S size, the 5, the 6, the 6 Plus, and then there is the size of the 4 with Retina and non-Retina. So it's all over the place, and you have to really watch layout constraints. But here, you really have 2 flavors: 42 millimeters, 38 millimeters, and you have only Retina display, so there is no need to tweak a lot of the imagery. But anyway, a couple of things on the layout. So there are a few things you can actually control in the layout, like if you think of Excel spreadsheet cells, the cells of a table, you can choose whether something is aligned to the left, to the right, to the center, to the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen. So think about this big black box here as a big Excel cell that can have multiple cells inside, and then they can be organized like that. There is a new controller, a new UI element, excuse me, called the group that you can probably see down here, that allows you to put multiple controls stacked horizontally or vertically, and that gives you a little bit more control over the layout of your app, and you can nest them. So as you can see here, we have a horizontal with verticals and so forth. I don't see this feature in Xamarin Studio, but in Xcode, you can actually define, let me see if I can find it up really quickly. You can actually define different, let me see if I can get that window over here. Yeah. So you can actually define different specific elements for or properties for a UI element for the different Apple Watch sizes. So this label here, if I hope you can see here on my right-hand side, I can specify that the text color for the Apple Watch in 42 millimeters is going to be, let's pick something like yellow. And for the, oops, sorry, I deleted by mistake. And I'm also going to add a custom color for the 38. So this is something we don't have in iOS, but in Apple Watch, it's a nice feature that you can do right here in Xcode. You can pick customizations for the two different sizes right here in the designer. Xamarin Studio doesn't have that apparently yet, but I'm hoping they do at some point. They have enough to make it dangerous, and like I said, you can still jump back and forth, and you can get those features, and then just go back, and Xamarin Studio will be happy as always. So I wanted to highlight that because it's really, really cool and different in so many ways. So I'm going to launch here my simulator, and oh no,
how dare
you? No. Yeah, I think it's because I added some custom stuff there. It says members cannot have the same blah blah blah. Something happened. All right, let's go here and see what happened. Well, let me go back to my Apple Watch app here. Let's see if this one runs fine, because we don't have the luxury of time. So let me just run it with the iPhone 6 simulator, just to give you a taste. And no, it doesn't like me. So what we can do, I can put back the camera while I troubleshoot really quickly, because this guy was running.
Oh, that's fine. I'll just take it off you, and I'll start talking some more. One thing that I did, again, want our listeners to know is that we cover a broad range of topics on CodeCast by STL Tech Talk. If you have a particular topic that you want us to cover, or somebody you want us to have on the show, hit us up. The best place to do that's on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at JJHammondMusic. The Twitter handle for CodeCast is at CodeCastSTL, and that's on Twitter, or hashtag CodeCast. Somebody else has been using that, but whatever, it's no big deal. You'll get us that way too. So that's something I wanted to say for sure. The other thing I wanted to note is we also have other shows underneath our umbrella. We have a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday show called The Tech Informist that airs 11 o'clock Central, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And we discuss a broad range of topics, all just the technological industry. So I think a lot of you watching this will enjoy that show. Also, if you're into Microsoft mobility, Microsoft is going crazy as far as buying up startups and application companies and putting their apps and services on a broad range of platforms, obviously Android and iOS and Windows and Windows Phone. So we cover that on the MS Mobile Show. You can find that in your podcasting app, or you can go to msmobileshow.com and you can check out all of our past episodes. Also, if you want to watch us live, we shoot that every Monday, and we shoot that at 1 o'clock Central, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to hop in our live chat, we really do enjoy that and have a lot of fun. Obviously, it is kind of unique, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of people who aren't doing what we're doing. So visit that. Also, if you're interested in some local news or some meetups or if anything like that, just go ahead and let us know. Don't forget to hit us up, and that's at CodeCast STL. So Alejandro, you think you're ready to go? Other than you being on mute?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I am, and I apologize. I realized I did an update last night that I probably shouldn't have done because I think I updated my Xamarin Studio with the non-preview updates, and so it just kind of screwed up.
We learned though. We learned from that.
Yeah, yeah. I'll fix it, and I'll owe you a demo. I'll put it up on another resource that I can share with you. But so I owe you the demo. So here's the demo. If I'm gonna be running it from Xcode, but I built this app really quickly the other day just to kind of showcase. And here is my iPhone simulator and my watch simulator. Just want you to notice that the companion app is not even running. So the Apple Watch interface can actually be loaded without having to launch your iPhone app. Because imagine how annoying it will be that you're interacting with your watch and the phone is just all completely messed up doing stuff that, hey, no, don't mess with my current spot where I am. So
yeah.
What I did here is I configured a glance view. As you remember, glances are this read-only quick. They're not notifications. They're just these glanceable interfaces. There's no other glances, so I cannot swipe right and left and see other things. I just have this one app installed. But when I single tap, and I hope you can appreciate the STL Tech Talk official shoe here.
Of course I can.
If you tap on this, which is the equivalent of a user tapping on the glance, you actually come to the app. This is a very unexciting app. I was showing how this gray container is a group that has two buttons that are in a horizontal group or a group that is laid out horizontally, and these guys can do two different things. This is a page-based interface. As you can see, there is these two buttons at the bottom, so I can swipe to go to the right-hand side. I can swipe to go back. And I can very easily change that navigation hierarchy if I go to the user interface. I'm going to go back here to the storyboard. And you can see here how my design is set up. You can see that the glance is here separately, and there's this connection between these two user interfaces. This is right now a segue to next page, but I can change it. I'm just going to delete it, and instead, when I push this button, I want you to do just a normal action segue, which basically is a hierarchical navigation. This page is now kind of like a, not necessarily a child, but you'll see how it behaves when I run the app. And so, again, the glance is what comes first. So when I tap on the glance, I can go back to the app. Now you don't see the dots at the bottom because this is no longer a page-based navigation, but when I click on this button, I gently slide to the other page, and now I have this little back button here that lets me navigate back to my first controller. So nice. Pretty slick. I also put this timer control that gives me the current date and time, but I apologize for the other issue. I really had a lot of stuff I wanted to show you, but I hope that what I show you so far.
Yeah, this got it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
I just hope that what I showed you so far was good enough or tempting enough for you to go and tinker, because it's technology that is new, and you're obviously going to find some hiccups here and there, but my kudos go to both Apple and the guys at Xamarin for making it available to us developers and letting us play with it, because it's really exciting.
That's awesome. So what are some of the more exciting things that you're looking forward to develop on the Apple Watch? Is it more position based, where it changes, it kind of tracks things, or what are you thinking?
Well, one of the things that I forgot to mention is that the access to the watch sensors is currently not allowed or open per se.
Okay.
But I will hope that in time they will create software development kits for those, so that you can tap in things like the heart rate or uh, whatnot, and mostly because, well, really the watch, besides just being a smart assistant that reminds you to be on time to your next appointment and whatnot, because you're wearing it, because it's with you, it can track a lot of things for you, and so it will be nice if you can take advantage of that functionality.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
All right, so let me pull something up. We did phenomenal on time. You did an amazing job at explaining kind of what to expect, and I think teeing up a lot of people who were thinking about maybe hopping into this, and just kind of showing the ropes on how to get started and different stuff. I had absolutely no idea about half of that stuff, so it was great for me. At one point, we did have quite a few people tuning in, so we appreciate that very much. So thank you. Was there anything you wanted to cover before we went ahead and concluded the show?
Well, if anybody wants to join me in my mobile crusade, I've started a meetup group. For those of you who are lazy to go downtown, I live in Chesterfield, so I call it the West Side Mob, the mobile developers of the West Side. And if you look us up on meetup.com, just look for West Side Mob. And we meet once a month, and all we do is just talk about everything mobile. We are not married just to one technology, it's just everything mobility. If anybody that is listening to the show, whether online or offline, and wants more information or a copy of this presentation, please ping me on Twitter. You can see my Twitter handle here on my little overlay
Lower
here.
Lower third, and
yep.
Go ahead.
Alejandro RMZ.
RMZ, Alejandro RMZ. If you don't know how to spell Alejandro, I apologize. No.
No, that's no problem. But yeah, this is really exciting stuff. I always love to share. So if you have any questions, if you're struggling getting started, just feel free to ping me.
No, it's very cool, very exciting stuff. I think, like I said, I think that people are going to watch this and be like, yeah, this is pretty interesting. I like how the simplicity of it at first. It doesn't feel like you're inundated when we're talking about but the extensions thing that was kind of new. I thought a little, and how that's being handled between the phone and the watch.
Yeah, if I just can show you this. So here's the extension view, or the today view. It's kind of, there's a little bit of glare, but
Gotcha.
like if you have bills to pay, I have a list of bills I need to pay with a pay button, or
and just bam, knock it out right there on your wrist.
yeah, and they're right there in your watch, just on the tray. So I haven't seen a lot of apps putting stuff there. The ones that have done it, I think, have done it really well. I have yet to find one that I hate, but I mostly let them put their extension for today there, because it's really useful. I don't think many people remember that that's there and use it, because the notifications is what comes up usually by default. So you can pick whether your notifications are shown in there or other places. But I think that with the watch, it might take over a lot of that functionality, because your phone will probably just be alone and sad on your purse or your pocket while you just interact with your watch. And again, back to what we were discussing at the beginning, JJ, I think just seeing what else comes with this. Right now, it's all about health and sensors and stuff. I remember that movie, The Island, with
Leonardo DiCaprio, or no?
Not
that was
that
something
one.
else. Oh gosh, who was that guy?
Obi-Wan Kenobi. What's his name? Young
Yeah, the
Obi-Wan
same guy.
Kenobi.
Yeah, young Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's him and this other cute girl. But anyway, they're like this clones, right? In this place where they think that if they win a prize, they go to the island. And
right. And they so don't go to the island. They get their
And they
organs taken and reused. They are
absolutely. But
harvested.
but the cool thing about that is that the very first scene, this guy is going to the restroom and he's relieving himself, and then there's a sensor in the toilet that says, oh, you need to kind of chill out on the salt because you've been taking too much salt. So imagine that your devices now are going to tell you, hey, you need to drink more water. You're kind of dehydrated, or your cholesterol is acting up, or picture people with diabetes measuring your sugar levels. I mean, this thing, we have had those devices everywhere, but I think that connectivity, that whole Internet of Things trend of the way hardware is going, that's really what is exciting, just the connected network of devices around us.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you around to tell me about it, brother man, and how to make it work. Let's just say that. So again, thank you, Alejandro Ramirez. Thank you to people who watch and listen. And we don't appreciate you enough, I tell you. But I just want to let you know we love and thank you all for your support of the show. So from the entire CodeCast crew, good coding. We're out.